So thank you for your patience. My name is Lily Wolf. I'm the New Works Associate at Chautauqua Theatre Company. I know many of you. Thank you for being here. And it's a pleasure to introduce you to the team behind our second new play workshop of the season. We have playwright Zora Howard and our director, Keenan Tyler Oliphant. Welcome. It's been a wild week in the theater, as you can probably tell, given the time that it is right now. Our world premiere commission is closing on Sunday. Please tell your friends. We do still have some availability for those performances. And of course, we are in the thick of our second new play workshop of the season, The Motions by Zora Howard, which is also a commission. So it is the week of the commissions this week. We are also building up to our Industry Day this Saturday, where we bring back our 2 new play labs, which is our new programming this season. We bring those back for a day. They each perform once, and we have 4 plays running in one day on this campus. So it is truly exciting and wild. And The Motions is one of them. Here's something that I love about our motion schedule. All the performances are at the same time. My brain loves that. 2 p.m. today, 2 p.m. tomorrow, and 2 p.m. Saturday. So make sure you have your ticket and be a good friend. Make sure they have their tickets too, because we'd love to see you there. And now let's talk about these incredible humans and artists who are sitting here in Smith Books with us today. I'm going to start with Zora Howard. Zora is a Harlem-bred, multi-award-winning writer and director. This is it's happening. She is a Susan Smith Blackburn Prize and Pulitzer Prize finalist. Her Pulitzer finalist play Stew is available for sale at the Rogue Reed Theatre Center and in the bookstore. Do yourself a favor and make sure you pick it up. After this, she heads to the Edinburgh Fringe with the play Hang Time, which she also directed. The Fringe, let's say. Edinburgh with her play Hang Time, following its off-Broadway premiere and its national tour. Her work has been developed at New York Theatre Workshop, Second Stage, Manhattan Theatre Club, and many, many others. Her work had, I said that already, her feature film Premature opened in theaters following its world premiere at the 2019 Sundance Film Festival. You may have heard of Sundance Film Festival. She's developing several film projects also currently, on top of all of these other truly incredible things that she is doing. Let's talk about Keenan. Keenan Tyler Oliphant is a theater maker and director from South Africa. Keenan recalls his traditional South African storytelling lineage by simultaneously exchanging with histories and futures to create spaces of healing, investigation, mourning, and celebration through performance. He's also worked at Playwrights Horizon, Signature Theatre, Here Arts, Alliance Theatre, and Columbia University. He's the Associate Director of Hadestown on Broadway. He's also developed work with Ars Nova, New York Theatre Workshop, The Vineyard, and many, many more. He's an alumnus of Club Thumb Directing Fellowship, Drama League Directing Fellowship, which we know well here, and Columbia University MFA for Directing Theatre Program. Let's start with some questions from me, and then I'm so fascinated to hear what you have for these artists today. Keenan and Zora, can you tell us how this creative encounter came about? How did you meet each other's work and decide to collaborate on this project specifically?
It was an agent setup. So my agent sent me Zora's, another play of Zora's, because they thought, the agents thought that we'd be good together.
Arranged marriage.
Yeah, so it's an arranged marriage. And this is the longest that we've worked together for. Like, this is the longest period that we worked together for. The last time we worked together was a one-day reading of an adaptation of Antigone, which is like my favorite Greek. And so when Zora passed it on, I was like, oh yeah, I love this. Yeah.
Can you tell us the origin story of The Motions? What was the seed spark? How did it come to be?
Yeah, so The Motions, unlike a lot of my other plays, I didn't have in my mind. I think a lot of times you kind of have a concept or an idea or something that you read that, you're like, I want to write this. But I began writing The Motions at a silent retreat and for writers. And the invitation when you are asked to come is that you do not come to work on something that you've already begun or been meaning to finish or been hoping to write, but just to come to participate in the activities that they have and kind of just let the time in silence inspire. And they were like, and you come and you write something from beginning to finish. And I think it was 2 weeks, maybe a little less than 2 weeks in total. And I was like, I don't think this is real. There's no way I'm going to write something in 2 weeks' time that I haven't even thought about. This is an impossible, I came very cynical. But about 5 days into that silence, there's really not a lot to do but write. And it was like, okay, I guess I gotta write a play. And so that's where because there were a lot of, even though it was all in silence, there was the facilitator who does speak to us and gives us prompts and reading material and all of these things. And somewhere in kind of all of the materials that I had and the little activities or the little writing exercises, the father and the son of the motion started to take shape. And really what was helpful in the silence was the structure of the piece, which is probably like a departure, the newest thing that I'm trying to explore and figure out in this collaboration. And I think the silence very much informed kind of how the piece works. But yeah, that's the origin.
Had you done that before, a silent writers retreat?
No, that was my first time. And I highly recommend silent retreats to everybody.
From a cynic, there you go.
Yeah, from a cynic. Oh, it is life-changing, I think, being in silence for that long.
I don't know if this is a question makes sense, but where is the play in its life cycle today? Where are we going to be meeting it here at Chautauqua this weekend?
We'll be meeting it. We'll be meeting it very early on in its cycle. And so we've done it for the first. This is really its first time that we've ever reheard it. I've heard it aloud. That we've heard it with professional actors. That we've been able to have a conversation about what it is. So it really is at the beginning of it all. I think what you'll witness is that it's a play that wants to be seen, not necessarily only heard. And so a lot of the texture and the language around the play is physical language that exists. And so we've been spending the last 2 days actually not only working at it at tables, but working at it on it in real span of on its feet. And so there's in order to understand what that language, what that unsaid language, how that interacts with the spoken language, and how it informs the spoken language. You might not see, you will feel the weight of that. You might not see it because we're at stands, but that's the investigation that we've been doing right now.
Thank you for sharing that. That was my next question. Do you want to say?
No, just everything that Keenan said in that. I think this is because of that, what Keenan is describing. This is coming to Chautauqua and just having, this is my first time hearing it out loud, just having the script. I had a lot of questions about the piece and how the piece could possibly work. And so we kind of knew early on that coming and just reading it a bunch of times was not going to answer any of those questions. It was not going to get us any, leaving Chautauqua and knowing, okay, now we have a much clearer sense on how what this play needs to actually work. And even in the 2.5 days that we've been working on our feet, there's so much knowledge, there's so much that I've learned about how this piece works and does not work.
Can you talk about what that kind of collaboration with actors looks like, has looked like the past few days?
Yeah, I'll speak a little and then pass it to Keenan, but you definitely need actors who are game, because there's a lot of unknown. So the actor that walks into the room and is okay with that unknown and doesn't have all the answers about their character, because there's not a lot of the text that's telling their whole family back history, and it's not there. So they really have to, prepare, do a lot of that work themselves, and then just be open and down for the exploration and the discovery. And sometimes that means doing a phrase several times with little minute, and now this little shift here and this little shift here, and kind of seeing how that completely expands the thing itself. So it's kind of very what is this word? Minute, detailed, in the weeds kind of work, and actors who enjoy doing that, which we are just very blessed to have a company of actors who are game to do that, makes a difference, I think.
I would say that I was telling Zora yesterday, I'm so exhausted because we've only been working 8 hours, but it was because like, if he smiles here and then passes the cup, it's a different conversation to passing the cup, then smiling. And it's so small, and the two of us have to go like that. Then she would go, well, the cup needs to come off the smile, and then why? And we have to like go through that, which is a 5 to 10 minute conversation, and the actor has an opinion as well, for one small, very minute beat in the whole play. But it requires, working with the actors has been interesting to learn how the body changes our understanding of this like very simple 3-word line. And that's been really cool. We also, the play, which you'll see, has an older actor, our incredible actor Peter is 86, and so just learning what the needs of an older performer is in relationship to this work has also been a discovery for the two of us, and it's also something that that you come into the room knowing that we might not be able to work in the way that we would have worked with if we had a cast of 10 young folk that are like doing a really fast-paced language play. This has a lot of breath to it, and even in the last 2 days, I feel like we've come to know each other quite intimately because of the intimacy of silence.
I would say too, with working with Peter, Peter Garrity, who's playing the father in the piece, that's what the play calls for, an actor of that age, a performer of that age. So there's also so much intel in having this human, this body, this person in this space, rather than a 60-year-old actor who's playing an 86-year-old actor. So I'm also learning a lot about the physical language of the piece, and sometimes, those are very funny guys. So sometimes I'm like, put that line in the play, because that was funny. So yeah.
It's been amazing to watch them all calibrate to working in the micro and working with that level of detail. It feels like they're all in it now, and now we're getting on the stage and we're like, okay, great, make it bigger so we can hear you. That process of what is the exercise that we're going to share with you all, and then what has been the exercise of the work of the last few days. I'm curious, like that has been such a charge. You were sort of in a way charged with 2 tasks and 2 processes in this very short period of time. What are we charged with as an audience, as we encounter the work? Is there a way that you want us to listen differently, to pay attention differently? What is our job as we meet the readings this weekend?
That's a deep question.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that it's not done, I always say at a reading is you are invited and into a process that is still actively in motion. That was a bad pun. It's like we are still learning about these people, the script, this piece, and so I always say at readings, like, receive it as where it is, and then the thing that I would say with this one is invite the silence. Actually, invite the space and see how your body changes when you still yourself and allow that space to wash over you. How does that change your experience of witnessing language? How does that change your experience of witnessing drama? I think that to me would be a beautiful charge to take over. At least that's what I'm going in with. It's like, it's not complete, but at this moment, how can I breathe with it? And what does breathing with it, how does that change how I understand my witnessing of theater?
On that note, we'd love to hear your questions for this team. I'm going to bring my microphone out there. And Laura, here and then up here.
I don't know what this play is about. And I was wondering, first of all, if you would share that. I had heard that it was about mourning someone's death. Is that correct? Or grief?
That's in the sauce. That's definitely in the sauce. That's in there.
Okay.
But
I would like to know what it is that you think this play is about. But I would also like to know why you chose at this moment to write about that.
So the play is about, I think, well, there's a father, and there's a son, and there's a nurse. And the father has a grave prognosis, and the son comes home. And it's about how those three people navigate time and space with those circumstances. And that's in a room. And that's just what we're watching. And why did I choose to again, I mean, a lot of the time I would have an answer for you, but I cannot say, I mean, I do think there's, you know, my father is in this play, my grandfather is in this play, my family histories are in this play. And that always is, I'm always walking with that. But why in that particular time, when I was there in silence, did these things come to the surface? I cannot say. I mean, I do think there's something reflective. I mean, there's a lot of reflecting in the piece, you know, with the characters in the piece, and I think maybe I was also in a very reflective. That's all I could do was reflect. Just think about a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of noise in silence. And maybe that thematically has kind of found its way into the piece, is that there's a lot of noise even when folks are, you know, not speaking. And just, we're this close, and when we're not speaking, then how I look at him or how I don't look at him says a lot. And that's kind of, I guess, the belly of the piece.
I'm wondering if either of you have ever been a caretaker for an elderly parent or grandparent, even for short periods of time, because I think that's really an important part of the play, from what I understand. And then also, in this day and age, having the nurse or female caretaker who's been there for a while and knows the person, it creates conflict. So that has to be in the play as well.
My grandfather died when he was 94, and for his last 3 years, I took care of him. Alongside, we had a nurse that would come every other day. But yeah, I washed him, changed his diaper, and did all those things. I fed him. So I've witnessed it firsthand. Obviously, I'm from South Africa, so it's a different mode of care, and we have different, over here there are different parameters around care. It's more legal here than it is back home. But I've seen it in my other two grandparents. One had, my grandmother had dementia, so she had a different type of care to what my grandfather had. He luckily had, he was in sound mind until he passed. And my grandfather, I have one remaining grandfather, he has a carer as well. So I feel like for me, care of the elderly has been a part of my life a long time before I came in. In fact, when he passed, he left me money, and that money was the exact amount of money that my plane ticket cost to come and audition at Columbia. So, yeah.
Other questions? Thank you.
Hi. I'm really compelled with the idea of working in silence, those moments. I mean, I'm neurodivergent. I cannot have anything quiet for too long. I hate hearing my own thoughts. So I'm very curious to know, and especially in a world that encourages us to be loud, like this truck, in a world that constantly asks us to be faster, to be louder, to be more, what's it like to work in those delicate micro moments of the quiet? Like, how has that impacted you artistically?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I was a musician before I was a director, and so sound is a thing that I consider consistently. In my own work, I tend to direct as an arranger or conductor, like I'm listening to an underbelly of sound, rhythm and texture. And so silence to me is not void of something, it's just another texture that we're using. And if we tune our ears to silence, we will have a different experience of what might be in that silence. And so I think it's a practice of listening versus like quieting, if that makes sense. I like the idea that you said, like, in silence there's so much more sound, and so I feel like, I think of this play, I know that what drew me to it as a director was the offering or the real challenge of being, can we be with this play which is about an hour, can we be in that silence together? And what is that ask that we can still be active listeners and active witnesses in a thing that doesn't move in the way that we might expect it to, or want it to. Like, it's gonna go longer than we want it to go. It's gonna be quieter. It's gonna resist our desire of what we think meaning is. And can we be with it? Can we hold it? And can we allow it to hold us and to lead us versus the other way around? I don't know that about your question.
No, it'd be very interesting.
Cool.
Knowing kind of how early this is in terms of stage of development, how much do the actors that have been sort of, I guess, fortuitously involved in the play, how much is that going to affect how it will continue to develop? So if we did another set of actors with that, would it take a different kind of path, if that makes sense?
Absolutely, they have everything to do with what we can do in the room. Because we have a group of actors who are game and who are kind of giving themselves over and are down for the challenge, there's a lot of intel. And we can go further, and we can be having conversations about how the whole thing actually works, and not, and they're cool if we're not giving them a bunch of acting notes and telling them what we don't have those kinds of actors. If we did have those kinds of actors, then we probably wouldn't be able to get as much done or learn as much, because then that would be, so the actors have so much to do with, and then they're also they're extremely, they're very skilled and smart, and also just interesting human beings. So they inform a lot about what I'm learning about these characters, their opinions, their smart opinions, and they're also, unlike Keaton and I, they have to be in it. They would have to do this, so they're giving the intel of, like, this is what this is on my body, this is what is even physically possible, this feels unnatural that I would go from here to here like this. That's all stuff that I can't glean in front of my computer screen. So yeah, they're extremely important, otherwise, yeah, we'd have to do this again with a different group of actors.
Yeah, I had a question about the title of the play. So the word, the motions, does mean there's a plural, and there's a lot of different motions perhaps that we have to pay attention to. So can you sort of maybe help me in the meaning of the word motion that you are intending?
I think there are many meanings. Actually, I had like a list of titles when I was in the silence, thinking of what the name of this play would be, and eventually landed on the motions. But I think, there's the going through the motions. These are just the motions. These are the motions of a life. These are the motions of illness, these are the emotions of a relationship, these are the emotions of caretaking, these are just the emotions. There's the mundaneness, it's the emotions of every day you get up and this is what you do, and the next day might look the same, and the next day might look the same, but of course it's every day is different. But I guess it's calling that, just paying attention to, I guess there's like the small motions, and then there are the larger emotions of a life. Somebody brought up grief, or the larger kind of things that we scale, that have a greater scope. We might have been one of the playwrights, so let's put a title on it that can mean everything, and so, but I think it's the both.
Thank you.
As playwrights and directors, our goal is always to have a production. And places like this are wonderful for workshopping and developing plays. Plays can sometimes disappear in the workshop process or be over-workshopped. On the other hand, I'm sure you've had and seen experiences where plays have gone into full production before they're ready, with great encouragement and great enthusiasm, including plays here. And I wonder what you do to measure yourselves as artists, subjective that you are, but also having to be objective of when the play is ready to be fully produced with a commitment of money and time, which doesn't always help a playwright if it's not ready. And I'm wondering what you use yourself to measure when it's time to make that decision, which you have a right to make. Sometimes the producer makes that decision, but certainly a writer can say, well, I don't think it's ready. I need more time to do that. I wonder about what you both do to make that decision.
That's a beautiful question. I've never been asked that. For me, I'm an artist, first and foremost, right? Like, my art form is theater, right? First and foremost, I'm an artist. And so, I think every artist has an instinct inside of them when they know that it's ready to be shared with someone. And so, I very maybe suddenly trust my gut instinct to be like, I can do it. Like, I can see this, I can give this expression, I know what it means to me. It's very important for me to know that I know what it means for me, not necessarily what it means for somebody else. Because I think as a director, if I know what it means internally, that means I can give it articulation and I can share it with someone because I understand my perspective on it. And so that's my gut instinct for myself. I never say yes to a play if I can't see it. If I close my eyes and I can see images of it sort of like moving through my mind, then I'm like, okay, I can direct that. So when those images come into clearer focus, which it has this week, even though the 2 days, I'm like, okay, now I think I'm ready for it. I don't know about you, but that's kind of way. I think that for me as an immigrant theater maker here, it's like I think theater over here has a longer development, has like more structured development than it did back home. And you would share your piece when you were thinking it was ready versus when an institution or a producer thought it was ready. Because theater is an art form, it's not necessarily only a structural thing. A poet shares their poem when they're done, not when somebody else says, hey, this poem is ready for an audience. And it doesn't matter if you're saying the poem on a sidewalk, or if you're saying it on a stage, or if you're saying it in an auditorium to 1,000 people, that poet knows that poem is ready to be heard and is willing to say it to whoever will receive it. And so I think that I hold on to that as the fabric of work, all work, regardless of development, producer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the point when there's a point when you know that you cannot take it any further yourself. Like, I can't take it. That's it. I put it all on the page. I can't do any more with this. I'm not a novelist, so I'm writing things to be animated and to stand on their feet. And at a certain point, I will, even if I'm done on the page, I will not be done unless I try to realize it. And I think plays they can be very, anything that you make can be very loud. If you have something that's very loud, it's like, you better do it now. You better realize me now. You better do this, get these motions up right now. And I think if you don't answer that, or try to at least, it may go. I think that's a very real, that's a real thing. It's like you make something and it wants to be, the poem wants to be said now. And so you've got to honor the poem. You have to say it now if you can, to the extent that you can. And that's when you start to, find your collaborators.
In addition to this Saturday at 2, when will there be other performances?
No. There's a 3 this weekend here at Chautauqua, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Today at 2, Friday at 2, and Saturday at 2, but right now it's just here at Chautauqua.
This is in reference to 2 points that you made, so it's really a two-parter maybe. I'm always greedy. One, you talked about the fact that does the cup come before the line before the cup before the blink before the cup, and I understand that. That's beautiful. I love that idea. So, to what degree, because I new plays often have very little direction. I mean, written stage directions. To what degree will these decisions be a part of your next draft? Number 2, as a part of that, the two of you, I got the impression because your agents connected, I don't know if you came as a pair, but will there be another director, or will you continue as sort of a team with this? And I know that's a tricky thing, but I mean, it sounds to me like if there are decisions being made like that, now I'm going on to law, but decisions like that, then they become a part of the play, and so another director's going to come and say, no, the cut before the blink, no, the blink before the cut. So whatever you want to say about that, I know it's kind of vague. Thank you.
No, I don't think that was vague. I think it was clear. I'm not that playwright that doesn't write a lot of stage directions. I'm also a director, so that informs things. But the thing about when you work with other people, when you work with a director, you work with an actors, you hope that they try the way that it's on the page. But then you learn, or when you have a collaborator, the director will say, and it's not in the stage direction, we say, but okay, so we have this door frame here. What if she just comes and stands in the door frame? Because we have the door frame, but she's here. What will that picture? I didn't write that, and I didn't see that, so, and I don't know. Some things, they so will change the phrase, they so will change the scene, that now I know I have to write it down, because every time that this is done, I want the nurse to be in the door frame. But there are some things that are going to just be specific to this collaboration and this company of actors, and even if I were to write it in the play, the next group of actors are not going to be able to do that thing that Trevor Long does. So I'm not going to write it in the play because it was specific to this actor's performance or this director's vision. So I think it's a balance. I think, if you want something to happen, even if you want it to happen and you write a stage direction, doesn't mean it's going to happen. I had a director one time who, in front of me, she was directing my play, and she said, "Oh, I never read stage directions." We never worked together again. But I do think that I'm watching you. Yes, and all of it is informed by, because this is about the actors, and this is about, yes, the dual processes that Lily was talking about making sure that we have something to present and share with all of you, but it's also about our work. And like Keaton said, we only worked together a day before, so this is about us learning each other and seeing if we work well together, and what does Keenan bring that I don't bring, and what do I, because I think that's important. I don't need to get another one of me to work on my piece. And I think the work that we're doing and what we're learning, to bring in another director, like, listen, we might learn that this is a shit show. Nope. Thank you so much for bringing us this far, Keenan. But you know, and then you do hopefully mutually say, I'm not the person for this project. I'm glad that we figured that out, and with blessings, we're gonna go our separate ways. But I do think the work that we've been doing, the way we've been talking, I think we're gonna keep on going. That's not, what do you think?
I would say that we have, although we're going to set up with agents, we have seen each other's work.
Yes.
So Zora knows the type of work that I do. And I love another director in the room as a playwright, or vice versa. It's a cool thing to have. And in this process, I haven't like fully been like, hey, I'm driving, because we're learning how to co-drive. And also, she writes pretty specifically what she wants. And that means for me, I'm gonna go, okay, well, I need to hear what it is. Like, I don't know what I can see on the page, but I need to see it from her perspective in order to go, okay, well, here's another offering. So, yeah, hopefully we'll keep on working on it, but it should be an organic conversation between playwright and director. It shouldn't be one or the other.
My question really was about how what you discovered physically will be incorporated into the next draft.
Yeah, cool.
Clear.
Thank you. I know we're at time and you all have very busy schedules here, so please feel free to head out if you're going to another event. As you're leaving, there are flyers on the table for Best for Baby. Of course, we want you to come and see the motions Thursday, Friday, but you can also see Best for Baby because they take place in the same theater. There's a 20% off code, so if you have any friends who haven't seen them, please grab one here at the Friends table. And I know we have a couple more lingering questions, so if you'd like to stay, we'll hit a couple more questions and then we'll disband for the day. Thank you.
From what I've read about the play, it deals with the fact that there's been an estrangement between the father and son. Is that accurate? Yeah. So it's personal to me because I've been estranged from my mother and brother for decades. My mother's in her 80s now. So obviously it made me reflect on that. But I know people can experience estrangement in many different ways, especially in the world we live in today and the times we live in. And I was wondering if what you are hoping audience members will take away from their experience of witnessing this play, or if there's anything you're hoping they might reflect on or think about.
Yeah, I feel like in this, there are not going to be a lot of answers for you, as an audience. There's a lot of questions, and it's giving you a lot of situation, but it's not really, the piece is not really interested, or the writing at least is not interested in answering. It's asking us to witness in a way. And I feel like active witness means that, or I love the theater where it asks us as viewer and a witness to complete the question or to complete the answer. And what's beautiful about that is that you get to form your own understanding. You will have a completely different understanding to someone who has a beautiful relationship with their parents, right? Or if you cared for someone till their death, professionally, you'll have a completely different experience to somebody who has ever cared for someone. And in that witness, and in that space of active witness where we each individually get to form our understanding of this situation, this very human, simple situation, that is the beauty of the piece, is that it will be different for all of us. And there's like a silent we're coming back to that silent, but there's like a silent individual, hopefully, impact that it has. That the best thing about theater is that if you walk away, you can share it with each other, right? Like, it's the best thing is that if you walk out and you're sitting at dinner or you're sitting in bed at night with your partner, you get to go like, I'm still thinking about this moment, and you would have a different way of seeing that moment to your partner or your friend or your colleague, and you'll talk about that, and you'll share experiences so that theater lives on past the walls of the space that we perform in.
That was so beautiful, and I know that there are lingering questions here, so I would just invite the two folks who have questions to please come and ask them at our talkbacks. One really important part of my job is to make sure the artists eat. So we're going to do that now because they are going to be in there reading at 2 p.m. I hope that we will see some of you all there. Bring your questions, we would love to hear from you, and thank you for being here today.